Hey everybody, how you doing today? I'm back. I'm that grand Pimp. New school. Yeah, new school for the queens, And what's going on? I'm reading what we call the Constitution of the State of Missouri. Missouri, a very important state that basically came into existence as a slave state, and we're reading the laws of the Constitution, of the state constitution, and we'll also be reading down the line the federal constitution. And we're up to, we read the Act of Admission, we were reading the Ordinance of Acceptance, we read that, and now we're into the admission of Missouri into the Union. And this particular reading is a good reading because we need to have a greater conception of the laws that govern us in every state. So we start off with this one, Missouri, and we will continue to many others. The reading, the studying, the learning, the finding ourselves approved is not only what we would call the history of the spiritual. It's also for the great founders of this great nation. And if we want to continue to make improvements, we must learn how to deal with legislation. And legislation is basically dealing with the laws and be a part of the system, not to just knock the system because of the inadequacies or the unbalancement or what they have done in the past. We have to stay in the now, to know in the now, and to become acquainted and very rehearsed in these writings. So I will continue to read, and we're reading the admissions of Missouri into the Union. Resolution providing for the admission of the state of Missouri into the Union on a certain condition. Resolved by the state and the House of Representatives of the United States of America and Congress assembled, that Missouri shall be admitted to this Union on an equal footing with the equal states in all respects whatever, upon the fundamental condition that the fourth clause of the 26th section of the third article of the Constitution submitted on the part of the state to Congress shall never be construed to authorize the passage of any law, and that no law shall be passed in conformity thereto, by which any citizens of either of the states of this Union shall be excluded from the enjoyment of any of the privileges and the immunities to which such citizens is entitled under the Constitution of the United States, provided that all legislature of the said state by a solemn public act shall declare an assent of said state to the said fundamental conditions, and shall transmit to the President of the United States on or before the fourth Monday of November next an authentic copy of the said act, upon the receipt whereof the President by proclamation shall announce the fact, whereupon, and without any further proceedings, on the part of Congress. The admission of said state into the Union shall be considered as complete. That was approved March 24th, 1821. So it took about a year from 1820 to 1821 for this Constitution to go into place for Missouri. They had what they called the Missouri Compromise, because if Missouri was to be a state and a slave state, it would knock off the balance of what they had, which they had even states of slavery, even states of freed states. So what they did with the Missouri Compromise, they did two things. They did one thing with the 3630, right, and that was a line that's going across the United States for the future. The bottom would be able to be slave states, and the north part of the 3630 would be freed states. But with the Missouri Compromise, what they did, they added another state, right, and they cut off part of Massachusetts and made it another state called Maine, and they reenact so you can have the balance of that. But this particular admission of Missouri into the Union, right, it must be known. And the reason why we're reading this, we are the Elohim Society, we are the Pimps Up movement, and Pimps Up is the preachers, the imams, the ministers, and the prophets. And from our spiritual point of view, it's time to enact, reenact, and get involved with the things that's holding us back. What happened was they gave slaves, or the free slaves, the right to continue in their newfound religion that was actually under Baptists. And Baptist was under Martin Luther, original Martin Luther, with anti-disestablishment, as he tried to break away from the Catholic Church, right? And the Catholic Church was sponsored, or by law, of what they would call the Roman government, or the German Roman government, as best to say. And basically, within that religion, right, they gave the slaves that religion just to keep them under control and have them fixed on things that would not get them economically successful. They will always be in prayer. They will always be in hope and want. They gave them a fictitious person named Jesus, from the two words Zeus and Za. So, in these two names basically was from the Roman persuasion. You know, Jesus was the name of the other persuasion with the disciples. But after they killed the disciples, they started doing other things. So basically, this here is for the family of the Elohim, for all the daughters and the sons, right, and for the teachers who call themselves Pimps Up, and Pimps Up of righteousness, because it was only the tribal leaders, who are the women, that had the authority to teach their children.